call to order the City Council Transportation, Energy and Utilities Committee meeting at 5:31. And there has been a suggestion from staff that we move some items on our deliberative agenda around, specifically move item 4.1 to the end because it may have a potential executive session that we would go into. So I would entertain a motion on that amended agenda.
So I would move the agenda as amended to move, to basically move 4.1, which is the 201 Flynn Avenue CSWD purchase and sale item, to I guess 4.3, move everybody else up in the order and include in there the potential for an executive session. I believe that this would be in relationship to a real estate purchase.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. So that's unanimous. We have our agenda. Next, we have adoption of the minutes from our 7/22 meeting.
They're not attached to this as I see it, but so I generally.
They're attached to the previous meeting.
It's also labeled as 2027. Let me look into this.
Why don't we table that
Why
for
don't we
next time?
table that?
I think that would be a good idea.
So
I move to table the minutes from it looks like 7/22.
Yes.
24, not 27. Back to the future.
any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I guess postponing on this table. Aye. Okay. And then, so our next item on the agenda is public forum. Do we have any members of the public who wish to address? Anybody online, if you'd like to speak, please indicate by raising your hand. Using the raise hand function on Zoom.
This time, no one has signed up.
Okay.
What you want comments on?
Yeah, on any of our agenda items tonight,
Okay.
or anything, I suppose. We don't need necessarily.
So, comment afterwards?
Would you like to comment now? This is our.
Just interested in both the Walk Bike Action Plan and the Plenty's 20s plan.
So do you have prepared, do you have comments that you'd
Nope.
like to make, or maybe potentially?
I identify.
Yeah, and I guess if you're gonna, if you want to speak later during the.
No, but just if there's questions and answers.
Yeah, we'll do that tonight. So we will introduce you that. I think we have somebody else. Are you signing up? Do you want to speak at public comment?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're done signing in, enjoy, you can join us. We've just started public.
That's all good. This will be fairly brief. So,
I guess you say your name to the record, please.
so Evan Gould, resident of Ward 5. I just wanted to come kind of speak in support of the speed limit change to 20 miles an hour. I primarily commute by bike, but my wife and I do own a car, and I know I've seen people already exceed the posted speed limit pretty substantially. So with the way the DPW implements traffic calming by seeing compliance, I think that lowering it potentially creates more opportunities for traffic calming to actually get speeds lower. I don't think the posting is going to make a huge difference considering how people drive now, but it at least will pave the way for more traffic calming, opportunities in the future. So that's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Evan. Anybody else want to speak to the public? Not seeing anybody online, nobody else in the room wants to speak right now, so we'll go ahead and close public forum and move to our deliberative agenda. And the first item on our amended deliberative agenda is 4.2, the downtown 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. Yep. Philip, you gonna lead us in this?
I absolutely will. I have a bit of a presentation. I will probably try and give a truncated version of the presentation. There's a lot of information in it, just to allow for as much discussion and question and answers. So get this thing to.
We made sure it was in the packet, so for any members of the public, we don't go through the entire presentation in order to keep the meeting short.
Yeah,
It's all on.
On. Excellent. Okay. So we're going to discuss the 20s20 campaign for the downtown core. One thing just to kind of get information out there right off the bat is this is not changing the speed limit of the entire city down to 20 miles per hour. As a matter of fact, state law wouldn't allow us to do that. We're going to go through that quickly. So the state law allows downtown districts to have a 20 mile or less than 25 mile per hour zone. We do have a downtown district. This is the map that's provided by VTrans and CCRPC. So in that area, we can have less than 25 miles per hour. So what supports this? planBTV walk bike. Our 2011 transportation plan that was adopted in 2011. I think we attempted to get this to be approved back in 2013.
12 or 13.
12 or 13, didn't go through. The 25 mile per hour change did go through, but the downtown 20 mile per hour zone did not. So there's lots of reasons to do this, to have these slower speeds in the downtown core. The said planBTV walk bike supports it. Here's just some quick statistics if we think of the difference in vehicle speed and how it's related to in a crash, injuries and fatalities is exponential. So going from 30 to 25 to 20 is a huge difference in terms of injuries. And this isn't the scale, but you can get an idea on what your field of vision is depending on how fast you're going. And as you're going slower, you can see more and you're more responsive. Stopping sight distance or stopping distance, you can kind of see this statistic at these different speeds is pretty staggering. So some challenges and some solutions. You know, achieving driver compliance and balancing different modes of transportation, that's a challenge there. Well, what we're doing with our grade street designs and other designs, Main Street grade streets is a great example. Some effective street designs. We're engaging with the community over the next month. I'll be going and touring to all of the MPAs to talk about this and other transportation initiatives and strategies depending on the ward. We are working with BPD on enforcement issues. Hope to hear more from them on that one. Some other challenges and solutions. You know, when we're talking about a street and how it's designed, I mean, you go out on the interstate, it's big, it's wide, it really is inviting to go fast. And that's the way it's designed to be. Our city streets, we want to design them so it is not inviting to go fast. So we use different materials, different traffic calming features. Now, one discussion that we know has been talked about, we've received a lot of communication about it, is can we go less than 20 miles per hour? That's extremely challenging things to do. There's some design limitations around that. Think of vehicles that need to make deliveries downtown. And also, you know, data tells a story. We've already looked at other communities that have looked into this. Seattle, for example, they looked into and piloted streets at less than 20 miles per hour, there's marginal benefits in terms of safety metrics. That exponential curve of fatalities, there's just really no change and no benefit when it comes to that. We can talk about that more. So where are we at in terms of timeline? Well, we're doing some informational sharing now. We shared at the last commission in July. We're going to continue with our public outreach. And then in September 18th, we will go to the commission for approval for the 20-mile-per-hour zone in downtown. And now let's take some questions.
You want to have the public,
Sure, dude. Did you come to speak at public forum? I know you came in late and I know I haven't spoken.
I'm not sure. I'm here as an interested party.
Okay, very good.
And thank you for,
And so I guess, would you like to speak on that?
I'm just wondering how you're going to engage so many things.
Could you state your name for the record?
I'm Stu Lindsay. I just live up the street on Birchcliff and Linden,
Okay.
and work with locomotion in terms of doing the valet bike parking and a few other things, and also walk to shop with the shopping trolleys to encourage more people to walk more often. So just wondering about the education side and how much commitment there is to doing that. When you've got the pedestrians, but cyclists can use pedestrian signals as one of the things like at Mr. Mike's, where there's the sign and the bicycle can go through the intersection if the light is off. And I was asking, how do people, that's now a law, but how do people know that it's a law? And with this, the more public engagement there is, the more likely we're going to have people that are compliant. So.
Can I address that? So as I mentioned at the beginning, myself and another transportation engineer, Julia Urzaki, are committed to going to every single NPA this month, every September. We were going to talk about all sorts of transportation initiatives. Some of it's going to be dependent on the ward. North End scoping study for sidewalks, that doesn't need to be talked about in the downtown core. So it will be specific to each ward, and we'll give folks time to ask questions. And we're more than happy to go back.
But here we get maybe 30 people show up at an MPA, and the awareness that would be created by ads in 7 days, etc., would just reach out a lot more with a positive perspective.
or I think the other issue too with MPAs is the demographics of MPAs are not necessarily representative of the district, especially. Which is.
I want to appreciate Philip's discussion on going to the NPAs. We always think touching base with a lot of our city stakeholders, to the commission and the NPAs, even if no formal action is required, critical steps in our public engagement component. We absolutely are going to have a social media campaign reliant on the 20 is plenty campaign. We want to drive that message so it sticks with people. We are sure we're going to get earned media coverage, but even if we don't, we're going to push this to the media to help disseminate the information a little bit more broadly. So that this, drives, no pun intended, people into thinking about this major change in the downtown. I also think that this is an all hands on deck moment. Philip and his team have quite a few things going on right now, including the speed bumps that have gone on a couple different roads, a pilot project in the new North End. And so we want to help kind of figure out how other organizations, Local Motion and others, can also disseminate information through channels that I think are going to be, more resonant, but also have a broader reach than just simple, and I don't want to underplay it, but social media campaigns, things like that. We don't have a tremendous budget for putting these things in a lot of different advertisements, but I think that's a great idea. And 7 Days has been a great partner for a lot of things we've tried to do in the past, but 20 is plenty. Help us push that out. I think this is an all hands on deck moment to get people to recognize that we're trying to do more with less, or less with less, given the, financial constraints, but appreciate that feedback. I think it's important.
And I'd just like to say, I'm not here representing the location, just here as my.
So, of course,
Maybe just another mechanism for communication as a thought would be maybe reach out to the different schools and stuff to get complaints of students as well. be a good opportunity. I know a lot of them send home newsletters and stuff with students, so that might be a good way to get some parties in.
Yeah, we think Edmonds is right in that zone for the 20 miles per hour, so they're definitely on our stakeholder list.
We do have a bi-weekly, I have a bi-weekly meeting with the safety committee with the school districts. We met yesterday. And this goes into the rolling notes, and they send it off and disseminate it to different administrative offices, because there's so many different offices, so many different schools. So information is put out, but that's all really important thing. We should probably reach out directly to. By the way, we did get a letter from local motion, in support of the 20-mile-per-hour zone. Got it. I sent it to Rob, so it will be posted as well.
We post this with the meeting?
Was that?
We post this with the.
Yes.
Yeah. We just got it today.
We just got it like an hour ago.
Thank you, committee members.
Eric, do you want to ask? So first of all, just looking at the map, I want to make sure that the entire downtown district, every single travel way is going to be covered by the 20.
So we've had some meetings about that. It's very specific, the state, CCRBC, like that you have to be within the boundaries. However, we have a workaround. So
So first of all, so within the boundaries, I mean, I can see the boundaries. I have
Yeah.
issues related to this carve out of King Street, which but let's start with just within that boundary, within all the traveled ways.
Right.
Where a motor vehicle can go, motorcycle, scooter, I just had somebody pass on some sort of a moped, me,
Right.
My bike, they're all gonna be 20.
they're all gonna be 20. Having said that, this weird little cutout, what we're gonna do is put orange advisory signs that say, we advise you to put 20. Because we can't actually put up the white speed limit signs on those areas of the street, which is a little awkward, but it's what we'll have.
And just to drill down on the little carve out, which
Yes.
makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah,
Whose brainiac idea was that?
on ours.
No, I am figuring that, so the question is, how is it possible that the person who lives on Lower Pine Street at like 157, which I did many a year ago,
Right.
right there, 2 doors down from Ski Rack, is not in the downtown core? Like I said, what brainiac came up with that idea, and then how does that get altered?
Well, there's a lot of data collection between the CCRPC, us, and then Department of Transportation, state of Vermont. And the state of Vermont is the one who sits down, draws that.
So I would just say, without belaboring
Yes.
this,
Understood.
that it would be very helpful for us, part and parcel with that wonderful project, the Southern Connector,
Yes.
to implore the state and the brainiacs that they are at the regional planning to fix this nonsense. How about that for bureaucratic nicety language coming from the former city attorney? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I can't help myself, in this position. It's absurd. Okay, so that,
Before you continue, can you
Yeah.
explain to me how this outline got drawn?
They don't.
This is the designated downtown district. This is not a transportation.
State?
Well, the city asks the state to designate the downtown as a designated downtown. I don't think the state's a boogie person here. I think what it is that the economic development folks within the city identified the area and the parcels in which could be redeveloped to a higher density before we had neighborhood code, and picked out that area. It doesn't necessarily match for a transportation overlay, but I think Councilor Bergman's request to have us look at how we can keep King Street a continual 20-mile-an-hour street is certainly something we can follow.
well, I mean, actually, just basically from, and it would seem to me,
It's
and I
Maple
have to
as
look
well.
at my own, this version of it, but it goes all the way, it goes to Maple. There, you know, like maybe little parts of the Bobbin Mill, it's that first couple of things, so I would just, would really would request that staff contact all the people who are involved in sort of making this thing and see if we can make sure that the Maple Street people, the King Street people, and everybody in between from Maine, well, almost Maine, down to that area, including the first few houses on Maple there that you can see carved out, and even looks like up to St. Paul are included in this. And, you know, maybe the situation has changed, as Chapin has said, now is the time to relook at this and throw everything we can into having new sensibility, it seems to me. So, thank you for fielding that. And yes, I think that one other thing just is to the extent to which the boundaries of this can now logically be expanded, not just in that carve out, but going north into the old North End, into Council Broderick's area. There's some sensibility of that, so that would be a request that I would like to make. And then I reckon that that is, I'm supportive of this, by the way, just to get that on the table. So then I've been asked about lowering the speed limits on Shelburne Street and North Ave from 30 to 25, but that's another, we'll hold that to another time, and perhaps we can do that off meeting where you can provide me with the sort of the process and the issues, so that that could be done. I thank you.
No questions. I definitely support this.
I have questions around the schedule. It seems like, so in the schedule, it says public outreach and feedback starting in July and August 2024. We haven't done that yet, right? So
We have,
good. Oh, we have.
we shared this at the July commission.
Okay.
Pretty much this exact presentation.
Just with the NPAs though, I mean, to get on the NPA schedules,
We have
it's a
not.
little bit challenging. We had something we want to get on that, or 7 NPA, we couldn't even get that on because they took a summer hiatus. And now they have things that they wanna, they're sort of backed up, and I don't know if the other NPAs are in a similar circumstance, so I'm just wondering, I think it's important to do the outreach, I'm supportive of this. But I think we need to do the outreach, and so if we're backed up and we can't get to the NPAs, I wonder, is there any kind of time pressure on doing this before? Like the fall, and during the fall, that would be like September, October commission meeting.
We've communicated that we're planning to go in September, but if we can't get to all the NPAs, we're open to bringing this in October.
And I think one of the reasons that we're going to the NPAs was that's a fuller package of all the transportation initiatives, and so it was, post-approval education, not necessarily pre-approval. Not necessarily pre-approval, this is what we're gonna do, so we'd still be highlighting between, right after Labor Day up until the commission meeting, which is about 3 weeks of a public outreach campaign, so people are aware of the change that's coming and are ready for it, so it wouldn't take effect until late October, I think.
Yeah, it wouldn't take effect until October.
This only needs commission approval, it doesn't.
On this commission.
Correct. And so the fuller suite of the NPAs would also touch on the pilot projects that Philip's team is shepherding. The next topic on the agenda that I think Philip's going to brief you on, which is the fuller planBTV walk bike action plan update. So the idea really was, since this didn't seem as controversial per se, but education is clearly required, we would be moving to the NPAs with that post-approval kind of, this is what's happened if you haven't heard about it. this is the map and this is how it could affect you, and this is what we're asking the public to do.
Just as a point of information, the wards 2 and 3 MPA has been split apart. This is Ward 3. You know, and maybe Ward 8, and depending on, so, that is, you know, those are the affected people. I mean, I think that then you've got, the business community, so, obviously, the BBA is a point of connection.
We reached out, I think, to a couple different larger business entities, like the in-house, business workforce development. I believe we've reached out already to BBA as a preliminary, this is what we're working on, but those are certainly on the list. And we did, I think we accepted the Ward 2 invite today and just learned about the split. So I don't know that we have an official Ward 3, date yet. I think that made next on the board.
Yes, that's correct.
Great. Okay.
I have one other question. It's really around Battery Street as a like connector. And given that like on either end of it, well, except for that little jog or that little piece of maple that's included here, which would be, I don't think anybody goes more than 15 miles an hour on that stretch from Pine to Battery anyways. But as we, like, if we get the railroad yard enterprise project done, I mean, that probably won't be a 20 mile an hour.
Battery Street?
No, well,
REP,
REP
25.
would be 25, connects into Battery. Is Battery sort of on the edge and it's, right?
It's right in the middle. It's Lake Street's within the boundary as well.
But I guess my question is more around
Yeah.
as a sort of a main connector there.
And
And it's gonna become a complete street, right, with a protected bike lanes.
That's the hope.
And it's gonna have improved pedestrian crossings. Will that, I mean, I'm just, would that ever be carved out of this for the
To be
20,
faster?
yeah, for 25?
I mean, Main Street's an arterial, Pearl Street's
Right.
an arterial
I get
connection. Yeah,
I'm asking the question.
yeah, in the downtown
Moving
core.
everybody south to north, and then we'll just have that little stretch where we're going. A little bit slower. I'm still supportive of this, I'm just
Right.
asking
For
the
sure.
question, because even in your maps, you had different roads within that grid, within this downtown, designated downtown area that were rated for different speeds, so.
Transportation is dynamic and we will never say never. We can always look at something, okay, well, maybe we'll increase the speed limit here or decrease it there.
Okay.
You know, it's there, nothing is ever off the table. But the proposal as it stands right now, would be Battery Street. Go to 20 miles.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the committee or from the public on this or comments?
Just looking at that, this encompasses, there's still the inner fire district. It still exists.
You're fine.
I believe the inner fire district still exists in ordinance, but this would not tie to that.
Okay, well, I'm just thinking of, in the past, cyclists are not supposed to be on the sidewalk within the inner fire district. So, that might be part of the other, part of the discussion, which is something that keeps everybody equitable. You know, that cyclists shouldn't be riding on a sidewalk where pedestrians are.
Unless they're under 80.
There used to be stencils on every corner, don't ride your bike.
You have a member of the public, when you're ready, Chair. Hand raised.
Okay. Go ahead, member of the public. Please state your name for the record, please. You're showing.
Hi, this is Jason Van Drysch.
Jason, go ahead.
Hi. Thank you. And my apologies for coming on late. I came on just as Philip got to the question slide, so I was unable to see the presentation when I got home from work. So I'm going to make some comments in ignorance of what you presented and hopefully in support of what you presented, but I'm not sure. So I just wanted to say that in advance. I'm very much in support of a 20 mile an hour speed limit throughout the downtown. I listened with interest to the various comments about outreach, and while I understand that outreach is necessary and important both in advance of passing this policy and as part of rolling it out, my very strong sense from the years I spent studying and advocating for safer transportation systems is that the only thing that really gets people to slow down is infrastructure that makes it uncomfortable to go fast. I know the city has been investing a lot more in that area, and there's a lot of great pilot projects underway right now. My comment is, my core comment is wherever possible, lean into changing infrastructure to make 20 miles an hour the only comfortable speed to go. And emphasize that over outreach, because most people won't pay a bit of attention to outreach, but they will pay attention if the street is uncomfortable to drive fast on. And I think the section of St. Paul that was redone a couple of years ago is a great example. That street, I'm sure, has a much slower speed now than it did before the redo. And one piece of evidence that DPW did it right is the number of complaints that they received about the curbs and about how tight it was and so on and so forth. If you aren't making motorists uncomfortable, you're not pushing hard enough. So please rethink the infrastructure wherever you can to make it reinforce the 20 miles an hour. That'll do 90% of the lift. Thank you.
Jason. Go ahead.
I make a comment as well.
Absolutely. I just state your name. Please.
My name is Sarah Camille Wilson. I'm a Burlington resident. I'm the executive director of Wills Folks Home. And I'm very much in favor of the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. I have similar sort of concerns to some of what Jason expressed and what I've heard a little bit in the room as well around, particularly thinking about Battery Street and Main Street and how like structurally those streets would need to change significantly in order to just, to cause people to drive at those slower speeds. But I think from I've read a lot about the evidence of how much fatalities decrease with the lower speeds. I've been in cities with lower speed limits, and I'm unequivocally in support.
Any other comments before we close this item, or any final comments?
I guess just to address Jason and Paul's about design, Main Street, Great Streets, total redesign. Main Street will be a completely different street, and it will feel slight, and it is designed for 20 minutes. Battery Street, we're working through the scoping study. We're working through alternatives right now to finalize the direction we're going to go for that street to do the same thing. So.
People regularly drive 50 on that street. And and I understand why, because it's so wide that they feel like it's a highway.
The design, it invites speed.
So we'll go ahead and close 4.2. And
Chair, it looks like another hand just popped up, if that's for you.
sure, we have to sort of keep going here, but go ahead, Barbara.
Hi, it's Barbara Hedrick. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Barbara.
Okay. I like this idea of 20 miles per hour in the downtown, but even if you implement it, there's no traffic enforcement happening. And that's a major problem. So I'd like to see traffic enforcement start to happen in the city so that this program is effective as well as others. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. Seeing no other comments, we'll go ahead and close this item and move on to 4.3, which is the planBTV walk-bike action plan update.
Yeah, thanks again, Phil Peterson with DPW planBTV walk bike action plan update. We've had a little bit of confusion with this project, like what are we doing, why are we doing it? And so basically it's an update. It's not a rework. It's not starting from scratch. It's taking the existing plan, collecting data, and looking at those larger projects and prioritizing, saying what projects are we going to prioritize and maybe even discovering, well, you know what, maybe we need to do this project over here. And we need to do that every 5 years in order to apply for federal grants. Federal government wants to see that and wants to make sure that a community is invested in moving forward with a plan. And so that's basically kind of the long and the short of why we're doing this. So we have a very large committee. We have our consultants with VHB, city representatives, and the CCRPC is also involved. This is a CCRPC funded effort. We also have several members of our PAC, which is our advisory committee. Folks from city council, you can see all these different people from different elements of the city that have input. I'm not going to go through all of this. As I said, planBTV walk bike is not a rework of it. This is an update of the 2017 plan. We have done some work. Encourage you to kind of look through and see what projects we've engaged in, what we're currently working on, what we're hoping to work on in the future. And we did sit down as a group after our first PAC meeting and have some conversations over creating a project definition, and that was based on some city council input. Thank you very much for that. So that we can really define, like, what are our parameters? What's the swim lane here? It's a little bit wordy, but I mean, it does help us create a foundation for what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Some more background. This is what the basis of our work is going to be on. Data around creating safer streets for everyone. Our work to date and what we're hoping to accomplish in terms of mode share, and safe streets for all. Those are the kind of grants that we're going for, right? Federal grants, federal grant dollars, and what that means, how we create what the federal government calls the safe system approach. So creating a plan so it's custom fit. So when we do apply for grant dollars, so we can take on those bigger projects, our planBTV walk bike is customized to what the federal government is looking for. Right? And this is all these different things that the federal government, FHWA, is looking for. So what is our timeline? We are still kind of in this data collection mode. Public participation is going to begin in September. When I go to the first MPA, I'll have a QR code that goes to a survey for planBTV walk bike action plan. And we don't have a perfect date yet. We're working on the first public meeting. It will be in late October. We're looking at 2 dates, October 21st and October 23rd, as potential meeting, maybe a Contois, maybe here for that first public meeting. As I said, we're going to present at the MPAs. We'll have that first public meeting in October. We'll kind of take all that information, other information from the survey, data that's been collected, have public meeting number 2, start developing recommendations, and then hopefully have some kind of final plan by April of next year for city council to look at. That's it. As an opportunity to ask questions.
Questions? I'll do like I did last time. Anybody from the public? Questions or comments?
When they first started planning on the Main Street, Great Street, I've been at a conference in Rotterdam. And one of the things they mentioned was all of the street furniture that is in Rotterdam is considered defensive. So that if somebody has a heart attack, if a terrorist goes amok down the street, that the furniture would prevent them from getting too far towards the pedestrians. And I thought, what a great idea. And I submitted that at one of the open forums, but just wondered if anyone was thinking along that line.
For Main Street, Great Streets?
Right.
I'm not sure.
It just seems
Yeah.
that it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, Main Street, Great Streets, it's underway. It's a project that's in construction right now. I'm not sure if that was addressed.
Yeah, I can follow up and let you know, Stu.
Okay, thanks.
Clearly, trees, street furniture, the wall, be somewhat of a barrier, but whether it's been designed to a higher level to stop traffic, I do not know.
Any other members of the public want to get in on this topic?
I don't know how much it would be like just question versus just like general like feedback. I don't know if it's.
Sure,
if I
go for it.
So I think one thing that I think is becoming more popular in Europe and other places is like Dutch junctions for kind of intersections.
We've talked about that.
Okay, cool. And then I think the other thing that's just strange to me on the bike path is there's so many cross streets that have such low volume of cars, and it's just strange that the bike path doesn't have a right of way. And I don't know how much of that is like a state law issue or something like that, but it's just always been something, one, that those crosswalks aren't raised and that they don't have prioritization for bike path because the traffic is so much heavier from cyclists along that route than it is from cars.
Explain. Well, so typically that occurs because sight lines are so bad for bicyclists and pedestrians. You have a lot of vegetation, so you think of like Star Farm Road or Eagle Bay maybe. So there's too many barriers for bicyclists and pedestrians to see if cars are coming, right? And so the stop sign is, you got to stop and look to see if there's anything coming. If there was no vegetation, if you have really good sight lines, then that wouldn't be a problem.
But like the ferry dock or near the yeah, so to the ferry, the spot on the dock is also there. And then also the or I mean even Echo, like generally the volume there of cyclists is much higher. And then the last one kind of on that same stretch by the skate park is also, I mean, almost nobody goes to the Coast Guard there, that road. Most people turn right to park by the, I mean, I almost never see a car kind of crossing that way, but it's also prioritized. So there's stop signs and there's pretty good sight lines.
I'd have to look at the bike path,
Yeah,
scoping study for those
No,
particular
just-
intersections.
Just a random piece of
Yeah, sure.
thing that's always.
I'm always happy to answer your questions. You can send me an email too.
Committee members?
Sure, so, I guess in our first project action committee meeting, I think the, vast majority of those played their biggest, the biggest topic that we want to somehow address in this plan is, like you said, not so much as, making super substantial changes, but how do we implement it at a pace that is keeping up with the original design of the plan. So if there's anything that you guys currently have now to speak to that concern.
Yeah, I mean, execution and implementation that's what we want, for sure. And that's why we're doing the things that we're doing, piloting speed humps, and we're attempting to do other things to get something out on the street. But we want to do it smart. You know, we're collecting data as we go, and letting data tell the story. So yeah, I mean, preaching to the preacher, we definitely want to implement.
I mean, I think the message that I'm hearing from Eric and what I think you heard at the meeting is a desire for greater bandwidth and capacity to be able to implement. Funding and staffing are the two biggest challenges. So on the funding side of things, preventative maintenance funding has been a long time deficiency in our department. People have been very supportive of funding capital projects, but funding additional FTEs for maintaining separated bike facilities like bollards or increased enhanced levels of sweeping or things that we need to figure out as part of FY 26 budgeting. How are we going to pay for those resources? And second, as it relates to staff development, currently the tech services team is budgeted for 10 people and we've got 5. We're managing a historic amount of capital projects right now on half the people, and we're so close to burnout. So we need to figure out how do we recruit. We have many open positions. If anybody is interested, please apply. And I know the team, I am supportive of implementing more, team supportive of implementing more. But we are trying to figure out how to complete Parkway, how to complete Great Streets, Main Street, how to deliver on the grants that we've received, $22 million for bank and sharing, that all have to be delivered or we lose the money and do all this other stuff, which is critically important, but doesn't have grant funds the same way behind it. So the good news is this document here will help us chase more grant funds. So I think this is part of the solution. But happy to work with you both, you all, on how we resolve the staffing and the funding.
And am I correct to understand that federal funds are usually for the capital side that you're talking about?
Yep,
I didn't catch that.
yes,
Federal funds are usually, they fund the capital side, and it sounds like the side we're having a hard time funding is the maintenance side. Right.
Okay.
What is the status of the Walk Bike Council?
Once a month, and
How does it fit within this? I didn't see any reference to them. And so how does it fit within this update? And what are they doing?
we do have Burlington Walk Bike Council member on the PAC, Jack Tinio. So he's part of it. How they fit within it is, hopefully they'll advocate for the work that we're doing. They'll give their input, I'm sure.
Okay, it would be great to have a presentation that reveals what they're doing in relationship to this, and if they're not, then reveals that, and just to put it all into context. I don't think that a lack of information about their role is actually helpful, because they're a player out there, and in order to be successful, we have to be connected with all of the players. I'm assuming that the advisory committee is a public body open to the public.
PAC meetings,
And so I don't know that, did we see a schedule, and has that been publicized so that everybody in there?
there is a website and there's information on that website. I'm sure that it's there. So I think.
So I guess that, let me just say, and I think Robert is that the most, the way we're going to get community buy-in is by letting everybody know in the most robust ways. So to the extent to which that is made known, and particularly you've got advocates here so that they can be there and they can hear and participate. And that goes to my sort of last point, which has got like 3 sort of pieces. I think in looking at that, this is helpful. This is a good piece of work. I do think that there needs to be somewhere else a good explanation, better than what we've got here. And I'm not saying that it was designed for that, so it's not meant to be a criticism of this. But that really shows how we are doing granularly in the implementation of the walk bike plan. And I say that because clearly, if you want to make a case to the public that we need to be invested, if you want to make a case to people who are interested that they should join this amazing team and have the possibility of having a pension at the end of their 20 years of working for the city of Burlington, because they have done amazing work, right? And I can swear I will testify to the importance of a pension. There is no better way than to be making the case, and the way that you make the case is by saying, hey, we have this plan and we are falling short, and these are the reasons that we're falling short, and we need to be figuring out how to not fall short. So that leads to my my third point on this, so these are not questions, this is really a request for, I'm sorry to say, this is another penny on the scale, right, of your overwork. But I do think that it speaks to the to effective work, and that is, maybe it is possible that public-private partnerships can be constructed to meet the goals of the plans. And I hate to use the quasi-privatized approach that I saw on the Northway yesterday as I'm driving from Chattagay, which is adopt a highway project, right? And there's these signs that say, hey, you know, like, adopt this highway. So we got a lot of folks in town who would like to see improvements. Institutions. And perhaps we can marshal those forces if we've got the case that's made based on showing the gap between what I think this community really wants and needs and what we can do given where we are. So that is more of a, let me just throw a penny from my thoughts into your pool so that perhaps something close to a quarter of a penny can get done. Thank you.
Just one more piece of feedback that Council Burlington just reminded me. I think one of the things on here, it's not quite a vision zero, but elimination of bike fatalities by 2026. I think one thing that would be of interest to me, it's data that I'm trying to collect myself, but the trying to get information from BPD on a regular basis as to how many incidents of accidents per bike. I know there was one 2 weeks ago where somebody got hit on Pearl Street. There's a few other incidences on North Ave, and I don't think they're very publicized, but it would be good to have that data of how many we currently have and what those high traffic zones are, even if it's just a presentation on progress that way too.
Well, we can send you, if you want to leave your information, a crash data board that we put together using some of BPD and some of the state's data.
Let me unshare and make sure.
We can
Well,
spend afterwards.
Yeah. And, you know, what I think, to your point, one of the things is there's only so much bandwidth members of the public have, so how deep are they going to drill down in our website? For instance, how do we best publicize, as we heard earlier, from a member of the public? We totally understand all that. We do have I think what is a pretty well-received dashboard for folks who've studied it, and I think maybe gets to some of the data you're interested in, maybe not all of it. Tried to collate, Philip, I think VTrans and BPD for the most part to pull together high crash locations. And, you know, I believe it drills down into pedestrian, bike, and then vehicular accident. So send it your way if you want to exchange info.
Well, thanks again for bringing us that update tonight. There's nothing further on this. I guess we'll move on to our last, which was our first, which is 201 Flynn Avenue, CSWD purchases.
Yeah, we have Lee Perry, Division Director for Maintenance, and we also have Eric Ramakrishnan, Assistant City Attorney, who's been providing us tremendous guidance here. Our thought this evening is to do a very brief, high-level overview for the public, and then likely move into executive session to discuss the negotiated terms that are that we're moving towards. Just for big picture context, we need a signed purchase and sale agreement by the end of September before our option to purchase this property falls apart and expires. So we have about 5 weeks in front of us to get this done. So our hope is to update you in public session and then the terms in private, with the understanding we go to the Board of Finance and Council on the 16th and 23rd to get approval for the purchase and sale agreement. So,
Questions? You brought this to us before, and
Yeah.
it's like we've been kicking the can down the road for what, 2 or 3 years, as long as I've been on the council. So, you know,
Yes.
if we need to bring it to some finality. Support that. So,
Yeah, because there are no more extensions of MOUs or agreements, so this, the September 30th deadline.
that's it.
At least that's what CSWD is reflecting to us. They could change their opinion, but that's their
That's their words.
position currently. Yeah,
Okay, anything more about the details or their requests or anything that would be executive session related?
If you wanted to talk about, the purchase and sale agreement, or that would be executive session, yeah, because it's still in negotiation.
Okay,
I think what may be different from prior visits to this committee is we're no longer seeking to buy both parcels, just the front parcel, the 201.
okay.
Subject to a lot line adjustment.
and you saw in the memo that we're planning to reach out to the NPA. We've already asked the NPA if we can present this coming month. They haven't told us definitively whether we can yet, but our goal is to get this information out to the Ward 5 NPA if they are so moved.
I mean, I would like yeah, I'd like a summary. I have it, you know, for the public. I mean, I've read it and stuff, and I think I have one question that would not be something for executive session. I had a couple and I just didn't write it down before, so I'm trying to see, so.
Would you like the summary
Yeah,
first?
yes, I would, just so that the people.
Yeah, sure. So as was indicated by Councilor Barlow, this is a longstanding, we'll call it issue, but it's been around since 2001. When Chittenden Solid Waste District purchased the property on Flynn Avenue to locate a modern drop-off center because there were no property within the city of Burlington. They currently reside at 339 Pine Street. So through various forms of agreements and memorandums of understanding, it's just been drawn out over the years. In 2016, we had a 3-year MOU, which then got extended again. It brings us to the point we are now with having to sign a purchase and sales agreement with Chittenden Solid Waste District. And what this will do for the city of Burlington by purchasing 201 Flynn Ave, it'll give us a unified area to store all our soil management. For people that don't know, all the construction projects that we do, there's displaced soil, we need a place to store that. Currently, we store at 339 Pine Street, the old street department yard, as well as the Intervale, which is located in Flint. What this will do is unify all those materials in one site where we can store them. And then we will recycle these materials into topsoil that we then use on projects. Byproducts of that are disposed of or used as infill on various projects. We'll also store our gravels there, our crushed stone, our sweeper material, which is currently located at 339 Pine Street, as well as there are contaminated soils within the city right of way that we may have to excavate out. This will give us a safer, secure place to store that material until we can figure out how to remediate it. We will have an organized area with bins and dewatering facilities for the grit material that is cleaned out of all our catch basins that needs a place to settle before, if tested right, we mix that in with all the material that we recycle in the topsoils. It also clear up space by removing it from 339 Pine Street to expand the 339 drop-off center. If CSWD chooses not to build a modern facility on the 195 parcel, as well as accommodate the rail yard enterprise project, because that will be going through a portion of our yard where we currently store all our structures for catch basins, manholes, pipe. Everything will be located down at this facility, as well as we'll be able to store equipment. Vehicle maintenance is loaded to the hill right now, and in the off season, our sidewalk tractors, we have a fleet of 13 sidewalk tractors. They can be stored at this facility to make room for other equipment, and vice versa. During the winter or summer, equipment can get stored there as well. This is where we currently are right now, the negotiation process.
I think the only thing I would add is that in the memo, we outlined some of the financials here. The overall project is around $850,000, with the city paying somewhere in the range of $375,000 for this front 201 Flynn Avenue parcel, which is approximately an acre in size. We are proposing to finance this through some sort of lease that would not require us to go like a general obligation bond to voters. And that we would pay this 1/3 through water resources and 2/3 through the general fund, likely through an increase in the solid waste generation tax, which is paid by folks who have recycling services. So that's the quick overview.
What are the anticipated uses of the Intervale after this, or is DPW going to maintain management of that, or with parks, since it's adjacent to the community gardens? It's in the floodplain, it floods regularly.
We are working with those partners. The Intervale Center is especially interested in reuse of that area. It has good access and is central to a lot of operations down there. So they are checking in with us routinely, usually monthly, where the director asks me where this effort stands so that the reuse can happen. Ultimately, we are supportive of whatever the community wants down there. Once we don't need it for soil management, it is open for the community to figure out what's the highest and best use.
And any contamination, so you'll do testing, or just
Ultimately, whoever wants to reuse that site and for whatever purpose would need to test to what they're proposing to use and whether any mitigation is necessary. At this point, we are testing for 201 Flynn to make sure that we are not purchasing a piece of property that is unusable for our intended use. And at this point, while there is contamination there, and we are actively getting an estimate of the cost to remediate, we are not doing any testing at the Intervale site at this time.
And at 201, is there going to be structures for both the equipment storage and the soil storage? I think I saw something related to the soil, but I didn't.
So
And I'm assuming that there is for the equipment.
there's a garage there currently.
Yes.
Lee, you want to
Yeah.
describe?
And what equipment, we aren't gonna do anything structurally to the garage as far as changing its design or anything. But what equipment can fit in there will fit in there and store in there. The conceptual design, as you noted, does show concrete bunkers. They'll be open top. The only thing that we will have, roof is a pole barn, which is at the west end where the contaminated bunkers are. We will make that accessible for water distribution and have a pipe rack there so they can access it from both sides with the pipes.
Make sure that that contaminated water and
Yeah,
soil doesn't migrate.
yeah, we don't have a specific design for our contaminated soil area, but it's gonna consist of concrete floored bunkers with drainage systems to drain into a frac tank or something.
It would seem that the word 5 people would be very interested in making sure that
Yes.
the area environment. And the last question is related to the loss of taxable property. And I'm curious as to how CSWD, which is a municipal corporation, is taxable. So how that's and then maybe.
Because there's a lease, there's a structure there with leases, and those leases are generating revenue, and the city assessor has appraised that property for those commercial uses.
So it's not being used for municipal purposes at this point. But if the property is used for a drop-off center, that would be, and so the represent, where the representation in terms of the, so it's on financials, page 3, this modest impact of about $11,000 becoming tax exempt, counterbalanced by the potential of developing and thus returning to tax rolls, depending on where CSWD and the city ultimately locate the long-term DOC. Explain how that all works within the context of a municipal corporation engaged in municipal functions of solid waste collection and disposal.
CSWD is not clear yet where they want their long-term drop-off center. So what's on Pine Street is not up to their standard at 339 Pine. It has no tip wall, which all their other drop-off centers have. Does not have the same square footage that other drop-off centers has, and as a result, they don't offer the breadth of services that they want to offer that currently they offer in other communities, but not ours. So they may decide that they want to develop next to 201 Flynn Avenue in that 2 acres just to the south. That's the 195 Flynn that we're not purchasing. If they develop there, that property is currently not taxed. We would not lose any additional grand list value. However, if they decide, based on where the REP goes, that there's enough room at 339 Pine and the council's supportive of them staying at 339 Pine, but improving that site, then they can sell the Flynn Ave parcel of 2 acres here and put that back on the tax rolls. So depending where CSWD ultimately lands with a modern drop-off center, will free open whatever the remaining land is for development or reuse as a fire station or other municipal use, but that will be a future conversation.
Thank you.
So do we have a motion or a pair of motions?
Yes, I reckon that this is a time where we are going to have to move to go into executive session. And so I would move to find that the premature general public knowledge of contract negotiations and discussions with legal counsel would clearly place the city at a substantial disadvantage because the city risks disclosing confidential information about negotiating strategies and confidential attorney-client communications in public. And I would think that we should also just note that this is related to real estate negotiations.
Which is noted in the second motion.
Yes, I see that.
I second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of executive session?
Aye. And then,
Oh, I'm sorry, that was the fight.
that's, yeah, right. Then the follow-up is that I would move that based on that finding of substantial disadvantage and the fact that we are engaged in real estate negotiations, that the committee enter into executive session to discuss the proposed purchase of real property from the Chittenden Solid Waste District under the provisions of 1 VSA 3/3 section 313A1A, 1F, and 2 to include city legal counsel, committee members, and let's see, Director Jacob Spencer, Assistant Director Lee Perry, and public information
Manager.
Man-
Recording stopped.